Our call to worship this morning is from the work of the Reverend Richard Gilbert. We meet on holy ground, for that place is holy where lives touch, love moves, hope stirs. How much we need this moment before the eternal, the time to be in reverence before the ultimate, the pause that renews, the space that gives us room to be. We meet on holy ground brought into being as life encounters life, as personal histories merge into a communal story, as we take on the pride and pain of our companions as separate selves become community. May our souls capture this treasured time. May our spirits celebrate our meeting in this time and in this space, for we meet on holy ground. Let us light our chalice. For those of you who perhaps don't know, the flaming chalice, which looks different in every congregation practically, is nevertheless the universal symbol of Unitarian Universalism. And we light it at the beginning of our worship, and we say the words together. We kindle this chalice flame to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment.
Good morning, and welcome to worship at the First Unitarian Universalist Society in Burlington, Vermont. Today is Sunday, October 2nd. We are now in the early days of autumn, as well as between the days in the Jewish tradition that lie between the New Year and the Day of Atonement or Return or Righting. I am Cheryl Herrick-Carmy, your substitute worship associate, a member of First UU, and also a member of the Ruach HaMakom Jewish Renewal Community, who also meets and worships here. It is wonderful to see all of you here today, and to know that there are more people joining us through the live stream, and perhaps later on in the week or year through the YouTube channel. If you are joining us here for the first or second time, or are rejoining us after an absence, would you be willing to raise your hand so we can give you a special welcome? Welcome, welcome. There are welcome ambassadors who would be glad to meet you and answer any questions you might have about us. And also, if newcomers wish to fill out a card, they're located in the back of the pews, and you can put one in the offering basket when it comes around. A member of the welcome team will contact you about the society after. Online viewers can contact us through the website. We want to inform you that masking is encouraged but not required. Thank you for this and for the many ways people are showing care for the community in these dynamic times. Unitarian Universalists come from many traditions and backgrounds. We welcome all who share a concern to build a love and world community based on love, justice, compassion, respect, and care for our environment, and who are looking for meaning in their lives. As part of this concern and our commitment, we acknowledge that the land we enjoy, where our buildings are located and where many of us live our lives, is located on the unceded territory of the Western Abenaki peoples. We strive to fulfill our responsibilities as good stewards of this land and to care for and honor Vermont's Abenaki heritage. Just a few announcements. All are welcome at the outdoor coffee hour at 11 by the entrance to the Memorial Garden at the side of the meeting house. When you're there, please enjoy the snacks that you'll find, and please take them with you. We don't want any leftovers after. And now I'd like to welcome Nancy Helen, who I think was over there, to give us an announcement from the search committee.
Thank you. Good morning. I am Nancy Helen. As a member of the Ministerial Search Committee, I am excited to announce the rollout of the Congregational Survey. This survey is the next step in the search process. What is the Congregational Survey, and why is it important, you may be wondering? There are at least 3 reasons. First, it will guide the search committee as we have listening sessions. In the past, they were known as cottage meetings. The questions we ask and what we share with ministerial applicants. Second, the survey data will provide our next minister with a pulse of FUU-SB as they begin their journey here. And third, it will provide you, yes, you, with an opportunity to reflect and ponder your engagement with FUU-SB, your priorities and hopes going forward. The survey was sent by email on Friday. Thank you to Christina. Anybody see it in their email box? Yeah. And anybody done it already? Woohoo! Good progress, yes. Thank you. It will be available in paper copy for those who prefer paper. And for the next 3 Sundays, we'll have computers set up at coffee hour so you could just sit down and work with one of us through it on your own. Or with somebody, I said, right? Please reach out to myself, Rose Ledoux, or Amelia Schlossberg, or anyone else on the search committee if you have questions. And it takes about 15 or 20 minutes, so take a chunk of time, sit down with a cup of tea or something, and really consider that this is important to the search committee, to you, and to our future ministry. Thank you.
And now we're about to begin. Welcome. It is good to worship together.
Good morning. I think we can do a little bit better than that. Good morning. So lovely to see all of your colorful faces in this colorful place this morning. I invite you to stand with me as we sing together hymn number 1010. It's in the Teal book. It's called We Give Thanks. Check 1, 2. Can we hear that a little bit louder, please? Thank you very much. We Give Thanks, hymn number 1010. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. A cappella, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Thank you very much. You can be seated. Thank you.
And this month our theme is courage. So I'm going to tell a story about courage, and I'm hoping that I have some courageous friends out there who will come up and help me tell the story. Follow Penny. She will be directing you. So this story is called Higgins, A Drop with a Dream, and it was originally written by Christopher Buisse. Do we have somebody to be Higgins? Higgins. Can you stand right here, Higgins? You can hold that. Hold that high, Charlotte. Once upon a time, there was a drop of water named Higgins. Higgins was no ordinary drop of water. She was a drop with a dream. Higgins lived in a valley where it had not rained in a very long time, so all the lovely green grass was turning brown. All the beautiful flowers were wilting. Do we have any wilting flowers? Oh, I see some wilting flowers. And all the trees were starting to droop. Higgins had a dream that one day the valley would be a beautiful place again. But what could she do? After all, she was only a drop of water. One day, Higgins decided to travel and tell others about her dream. All the other drops listened very politely, but no one believed that her dream would come true.
Higgins, get your head out of the clouds. You can't spend your whole life dreaming.
Higgins decided that she had to do something to make her dream come true. So she began to think. Can somebody hold a... Yeah. There's a thought cloud. And think, and one day, as she was walking by a rusty old bucket... Anyone see a rusty old bucket? Higgins had an idea.
If enough of us drops of water get into this bucket, there would be enough water to sprinkle on a few flowers to help them grow and become beautiful again.
Eagerly, Higgins told everyone her great idea, but everyone thought she was being foolish.
That Higgins, nothing but a dreamer.
Higgins decided she had to do something to convince the others that she was right. So she said to them,
I don't know about you, but I'm getting into the bucket. I hope some of you will join me. Then there might be enough water to help at least some flowers grow beautiful again.
So Higgins, Charlotte, Higgins, ran as hard as she could. She ran as hard as she could, hopped way up in the air, and landed with a kerplunk in the bottom of the bucket. And there she sat, just a drop in the bucket. For a long time, Higgins was very lonely. It seemed like no one else was going to join her. But after a while, some of the other drops could see the grass was drying, and the flowers were wilting, and the trees were drooping. They all agreed that something must be done. Suddenly, one drop shouted,
Hey, I'm going in the bucket with Higgins.
and she leaped through the air, and she landed kerplunk. Oh, kerplunk in the bucket. And then two drops yelled,
Wait for us!
and they hopped through the air and landed in the bucket, and another drop, and another. Then 10 drops jumped through the air into the bucket, then 30, then 50, and then hundreds of drops came from all around just to hop in that bucket. Soon the bucket was completely full of water, but there were still more drops that wanted to join. So they found another bucket, and another, and another. Before long, there were 2 buckets, then 3, then 4, then 10, then hundreds, and then thousands of buckets of water. Along came a powerful breeze that blew over all the buckets, and all the water flowed together to make a mighty stream. Everywhere the water flowed, the grass turned green again, and the flowers bloomed, and the trees stood tall and straight once more. And all this happened because Higgins had a dream, and her dream came true, because she knew that although she was just a drop of water in the bucket, enough drops in the bucket make a bucket full. And when there are enough buckets and the wind behind them, then justice will roll down like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream.
So it is time for the children to, like a mighty stream, go down to their classes. If you are a kid and would like to come, you're welcome. If you haven't yet registered, your parents can come with you today. And we get to sing. Remember this song, everybody?
May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
As we let this moment settle into us, let us deepen together into a time of meditation, breathing in the breath of peace, breathing out the breath of love, coming into a place of holy listening. First, I will read the joys and sorrows of our community, and then there will be a few moments of silence. At the time during the music or following, you are invited to come and choose a stone from the basket and place it on the table as a symbol of a joy or concern you have within you. These are the joys and sorrows for Sunday, October 2nd, 2022. Joy for the big gathering yesterday for Roddy's memorial service. Roddy O'Neill Cleary was a beloved member of this community and associate minister for many years here at First UU. Joy for the first day of the Sunday breakfast, today, October 2nd. The committee in charge of the grounds around us has asked themselves deeply, how can we be radically inclusive and welcoming? And now food is being offered from 8 to 9 on Sunday mornings. We have a joy that just this morning we learned that it's James' birthday. And we wanted to invite you into this joyful moment with permission to sing happy birthday to James.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear James. Happy birthday to you.
Right. May the joys and sorrows of each be the joys and sorrows of all, reminding us of our shared humanity. Now join me in a time of silence.
In the midst of our worship every week, we pause and remember the miracle, the extraordinary, concrete reality, and amazing thing that is this congregation and any congregation, which exists only because people believe in it and want it to be here for them and their children, for us, for the people who didn't know there was a place they could be welcome today or any other Sunday, for the people who will come after us. This is not just a task. It's a sacred gift that we give one another and the future in honor of all who've come before us. We also take up an offering in order to give half of it away. The beneficiary each month is chosen by one of the justice teams in this congregation, and this month the racial justice team has asked that our offerings be shared with an organization you know about probably, because they are not a new partner with us, the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance, a statewide BIPOC-led organization that works through legislation and education to effect long-term systemic change for Black Vermonters. This congregation is actively supporting VRJA initiatives to abolish slavery from the Vermont Constitution, to reimagine policing and public safety, and to economically empower Black Vermonters. You can help make all of that happen. Your gifts are gratefully received today and every week, and we remind ourselves of the importance of that by speaking together the words of dedication for this morning's offering. With gratitude, we dedicate these gifts in the service of our mission to inspire spiritual growth, care for each other and our community, seek truth, and act for justice. The basket is right here. Adam is about to show you how to use it.
Every year, the rabbi known as the Velveteen Rabbi, Rachel Barenblatt, who is a rabbi within the Renewal Judaism tradition, writes a New Year poem, and this is the one she wrote last year. Here's the thing. The year begins anew. Even in the worst of times, the leaves will turn and fall, and then they will grow again. And sometimes we're afraid, and we can't know what choice to make to keep anyone safe. Uncertainty is a bear. All we can do is seek out sweetness everywhere we may find it. I want to read that again because it's poetry and I flubbed the line. Seek out sweetness everywhere we may and work to fix what brokenness we find. The good news is we're not in this alone. We'll help each other hope when light seems dim and lift the sparks that darker days reveal. We'll love each other fiercely. In the end, there is no greater work we can do. We who survive will help each other heal.
I once knew a man who cared a lot about keeping track of things. Schedules, plans, rules, these were very important to him. And not surprisingly, he lived an orderly kind of life. To keep it that way, he made even more rules for himself, what he would work on every day and what he would keep track of. One rule this man kept concerned the number of calories that he would eat every day. Now, this man was not overweight. He wasn't terrifically skinny either. He looked, to me, to be just about the right weight for his height, the kind of person whose doctor would not suggest any kind of adjustment to his diet, which was, of course, the point. Year after year, decade after decade, this man's routines didn't change much, though life changed all around him. His weight didn't vary much, and he credited that to the system that he had devised for tracking what he ate. Every day, after eating breakfast and lunch and dinner, the man would take out a little notepad that he kept in his pocket along with a little stubby pencil, and he would write down how many calories he had just eaten. In the beginning, he wrote down the foods too, but after a while, he skipped that detail because he just knew the numbers. He didn't need a calorie guide since he'd pretty much memorized the calorie amounts for the foods that he normally ate and was comfortable estimating the rest. 150 calories here, 300 there, 120 for 2 Oreos after lunch. I don't know whether that's right or not. I may have to look that up. At the end of the day, every day, he would add it all up to find out how close he had come to his everyday total. But his system didn't stop there. He also kept a running total. If he exceeded his calorie allowance by 200 calories one day, for example, he would carry that excess and add it to the next day's total. And on days when he consumed fewer calories than he allowed himself, which wasn't very many because he didn't allow himself very many calories, he would subtract that difference from the surplus that he was carrying. That way, if he just kept working on getting his excess calories down to 0, he would always lose whatever weight he gained. That was his idea. And it would seem that his system worked well. He never stopped keeping track, and he stayed about the same weight from year to year. He never took a break, even when his excess calories ran into the thousands. His determination was impressive, to be sure, though it did not inspire me, I found, to follow his example. And not because it wasn't logical, but because there was never a chance to wipe the calorie slate clean, to start again with fresh new intentions. Each new day in his life was another chance to get it right, of course, but it seemed to me pretty depressing to be always carrying around the reckless indulgences of yesterday or last week or 6 months or years ago. There was no possibility of amnesty, not even for good behavior or Halloween. His system was fair, but it didn't seem to me to be terribly just. One could always work off past mistakes, but it was never okay to just let them go. This is, as Cheryl reminded us, the time of the Jewish High Holy Days. Over the course of 10 days, beginning with Rosh Hashanah and ending with Yom Kippur, which this year is in 2 days, on Tuesday, right? Jewish tradition calls for a deep searching of one's soul, to end the year with honesty and integrity and acknowledgement of our mistakes in the past, repentance for all the ways we have hurt another person, in order to begin the new year with hope and a renewed commitment to everything good. I find that during the year there are actually lots of times when it's easy to find convergence between Jewish teachings and our own Unitarian Universalism. I'm not sure that that connection is quite as easy for the high holidays. We Unitarian Universalists talk about the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We don't tend to bring up sin. We focus on hope, not repentance. We make a practice of looking forward, not back. Maybe Yom Kippur is just too different, too rooted in ancient rituals designed for a kind of worship that just doesn't fit well in our congregations or our time. Maybe. But I think if we rush by it all too quickly, we can miss some of what we need to allow into our religious life. Some truth, some kinds of practice that, in fact, I believe we long for. I could try to explain more of this theology to you, but I learned when I was in seminary and I talked to some rabbis that I knew and some Jewish friends that Judaism doesn't really go in for discussing theology all that much because there's almost always a story that tells it better. So here's a story. Moses, you will recall, managed to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, across the Red Sea, and into the desert where everyone was in a bad mood. It's one of my favorite parts of the story, and it goes on and on. They wandered around until they came to the holy mountain, Mount Sinai, where Yahweh clearly was, surrounded by smoke and fire. No one could even touch the mountain, so holy and mysterious. But Moses went right up it. And it was on the holy mountain, as you know, that Moses received from Yahweh the 10 Commandments. I understand in the original Hebrew, it would be more accurate if we said the 10 words. All the fancy wording and the sub-rules and the qualifications got added later. In the beginning, they were simply the most basic rules by which people were to live their lives, by which we, people, are to live our lives. Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not lie. Keep the Sabbath. Worship God and no other. The problem was that Moses was gone a long time, 40 days to be biblically exact. And when he didn't come back, the people waiting at the bottom of the mountain got restless and took matters in their own hands, as anxious people are wont to do. And they talked Aaron, Moses' brother, into fashioning a golden calf to be their god, their idol. Actually, I learned in seminary, the biblical writers may have been editing. Most likely it was a bull, an ancient symbol of power and potency. No more smoke, no more mystery, no more wondering where God was, just a tangible, visible, golden idol that people could worship. And then, of course, there was a celebration. So the way the story goes, that's the scene that Moses sees and walks into when he comes down the mountain. He is, shall we say, disappointed and angry. And he smashes the tablets on which the 10 sacred words had been written by God, and he yells at the people and reminds them again how unworthy they are. Which is where the story gets interesting. Because that ought to have been it. God lays down the rules. The people break most of them before they even tried. Why should God stick around? God could strike everyone all dead or leave them to starve in the desert, but that is not what happens. Moses goes back up the mountain, you guessed it, another 40 days, and he has a pretty intense, extended discussion with Yahweh. Yahweh is not too happy either about this story as it's unfolding, and Moses says, yeah, okay, we messed up, unworthy people. But you, God, chose us as your people, and now you're just leaving? What about something like another chance? Can sins be forgiven? I kind of think that's the big question in this story. You know what happens. Yahweh is swayed by Moses' intercession, at least that's the way we can read it. And a second set of tablets with sacred words is made. But this time, they are not just a divine creation. Moses is told to carve the tablets himself and carry them up the mountain where God will write on them. It is this second set of commandments that stick, the ones that Moses, a human being, and Yahweh, who is God, make together. There are some Jewish scholars who see in this divine human project the power of the story for us as we contemplate our lives and our sins and our chances to repent and decide and begin again and again. All of us make mistakes. All of us speak and act without thinking. We break the sacred rules that we know in our bones and in our hearts are the ones that we need to keep. To have the opportunity once a year in some regular fashion to stop, to clear one's mind and heart and body in order to see with brutal, loving honesty the lives we are making for ourselves, for our neighbors, for the world. To see it honestly, to ask for forgiveness, and then to turn to the future, recommitted. This is indeed a gift, and one we can give to ourselves and each other. I love the poem that Rachel Rabbi Barenblatt wrote so much. I'm going to read part of it again. The year begins anew, even in the worst of times. The leaves will turn and fall, and then they'll grow again. And sometimes we're afraid, and we can't know what choice to make to keep anyone safe. All we can do is seek out sweetness everywhere we may and work to fix what brokenness we find. And the good news is we're not in this alone. We'll help each other hope when light seems dim and lift the sparks that darker days reveal. We'll love each other fiercely. In the end, there is no greater work that we can do. We who survive will help each other heal. We who survive will help each other heal. So may it be. So may it blessed be.
invite you once again to stand in body or spirit. And we'll sing together hymn number 298, hymn 298, Wake Now My Senses. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being on. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Suffer thy limit and love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race.
Will you say the chalice extinguishing words with me? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again. I want to, before I read the benediction, which I'll do in just a sec, I want to encourage you to hang around afterwards, if you can. Meet somebody you don't know now, and by all means, go to coffee hour, which is right out there, not only because that's a great place to hang around and meet someone that you don't already know, but also because this fabulous, amazing, extraordinary, Sal said to me this morning, it's really pretty easy to do, and it is easy to do, but it's still extraordinary to be feeding people here on the grounds on Sunday mornings. And there's food left over from this morning because there were not as many people as there might be. And David McFeeters has made it very clear that he's not interested in throwing out anything. So your job is to consume some and take it home. I am here today feeling still the waves of beauty and remembrance and amazingness from yesterday's memorial service for Roddy O'Neill Cleary. For those of you who did not know her, I'm sorry you missed that opportunity. She was the affiliate minister here from 1997 to 2008, I think, and that's her picture right up there. I had the honor of leading her memorial service, and I was not sure what I was going to use as a benediction until a day or so before, when Peter said to me, Peter's my husband, right back there, he says annoying things to me like, when I'm on my way to bed or on my way out the door, he says, let me read you this poem. I'm not always receptive to that, but I'm very glad that I was receptive to this poem, which I read at the end of Roddy's service yesterday, and I will read to you today. It is by Mary Oliver. It is not a poem that I am terribly familiar with or was not before, and it seemed to embody Roddy and some of our faith and hope too, I think. Mary Oliver called it Heron Rises from the Dark Summer Pond. So heavy is the long-necked, long-bodied heron, always it is a surprise when her smoke-colored wings open and she turns from the thick water from the black sticks of the summer pond and slowly rises into the air and is gone. Then, not for the first or last time, I take the deep breath of happiness, and I think how unlikely it is that death is a hole in the ground. How improbable that ascension is not possible, though everything seems so inert, so nailed back into itself, the muskrat and his lumpy lodge, the turtle, the fallen gate. And especially it is wonderful that the summers are long and the ponds so dark and so many, and therefore it isn't a miracle but the common thing, this decision, this trailing of the long legs in the water, this opening up of the heavy body into a new life. See how the sudden gray-blue sheets of her wings strive toward the wind. See how the clasp of nothing takes her in. Go in peace. Aaron reminded me that there are pictures from Roddy's life in the parlors. So on your way out to coffee hour, you could stop and look at some of them. Thank you.